Hello everyone, my name is Andy and I am a member of the Teenage Advisory Board for Howard County Library, and today I will be teaching you guys some basic Java libraries. So what is a Java library? A library in programming is a collection of pre-written classes, and they are usually grouped by topic. So for example, in Java, string libraries will have methods to manipulate strings, math libraries will have methods to perform math operations, and so on. And to call libraries in Java, you will type in import java.something.something. And the first blank here will contain a word that identifies the type of library you want to use. So for example, there's java.util, which is for utility, java.text, so you can handle text of any kind. For example, you can handle integers or you can handle strings. And java.lang supports the Java language itself. And the second blank, which I will be going into, contains a subgroup. Okay, so the first library I'm going to be going over is the scanner library. So this will allow the user to input text, and to use the scanner library, you'll have to instantiate a scanner object. So to do that, you'll type in scanner, and with a capital S, and then this blank here will be the name of your scanner object. That's completely up to you. And then new scanner, open parentheses, system.in, and then close parentheses. And to get the user to input something, you will have to declare a variable for the user's input. And a good practice when using the scanner library is to write a prompt so that the user has an idea of what to type in. And then for Java, there are some scanner class methods. The ones I will be going over are nextInt, nextDouble, next, which is for strings, and then next boolean. And finally, the scanner, when you instantiated the scanner object, you open the input stream. So it's good practice to close the input stream once you're done asking for inputs from the user. So you'll type in the name of your scanner object, .close, and then open close bracket. So now I will be going over examples of the scanner library. Alright, so here I have called the scanner library up top, and then here I declared the variables that I want the user to input. So user input int, user input string, user input boolean, user input double. And then right here, this is where I instantiate the scanner object. Right here in this example, I have called my scanner object input, so it's easy to remember. And then here, this is where I start asking the user for their input. So I will run the program. So my program asks the user to enter an integer. So I will type in 2, enter a boolean, and then for a boolean I will type in true, enter a double. So I'll type in 8.14, and then enter a string. I will type in my name, Andy. And then here I just printed out text that combined all the strings into one giant heap of text. So I printed out, is it true that you, Andy, have been practicing chess 2 days a week for the past 8.14 years of your life? And then here, this is where I use the scanner methods. So this is where I actually initialize these 4 variables up top. So user input int equals input, which is the name of my object, and then .nextInt, the scanner method that makes sure that the user inputs an integer. Here, this makes sure that the user inputs a boolean, inputs a double, and inputs a string. And unfortunately, there's no .next string, so you'll have to either type in .next or .next line. And now I will go back to my PowerPoint. Okay, next library is the random library. So, as some of you might have guessed, this generates a random number. And just like the scanner library, you'll have to instantiate a random object. So here, you would do that by random, and the capital R. And then this blank here is the name of your object. That's up to you. And then new, random, and then open close parentheses. And you can also generate other data types randomly with the random library, but mostly the random library is used for randomly generating integers. So I will go back to Replit to show you some examples. Okay, right here, I called the random library. And then here I instantiated the random object. And then here are some examples of the random library being used. So here the parameters for the random object are kind of tricky, so I will go into those. So here, R, which is the name of my random object, dot next int, which is just like the scanner object, or the scanner library. And here I put in the number 2. And what this means is that the range of values that I want to randomly generate is 2. And for a random library, the default lower boundary is 0. So with a lower bound of 0 and a range of 2, that means I am randomly generating a number or an integer from 0 to 1. So I will run that. So here, 0, and if I run maybe a few more times, I will get 1. Yep, here we go. I have the number 1. And then here, this is an example of changing the lower bound to a different number. So I made the range 20 here, and to change the lower bound, you would add plus and then the number you want the lower bound to be. So for this one, you would put, like, for example, plus 1, and then this would randomly generate from 1 to 2. But here, this would generate from 1 to 20. So here, the first time I ran, the randomly generated number from 1 to 20 was 2, and if I run again, I got 20. And then here, these are less often used examples of the random library, but you can generate random doubles or random booleans. So here, this generates a random double from 0 to 1, and here you don't put in any parameters. And then for boolean, you can output a random boolean, true or false. So here is false, and then here's true. And then here is the math library, so it is used to perform mathematical operations. And there's no need to instantiate an object, but as in the random and scanner libraries. So some examples of the some math methods that you can use are the abs, pow, square root, min, and max, which I will go into. Okay, so up top, here's the math library, and then I initialized a set of variables, and then I will go into examples of each of the methods that I just talked about. So here, this is math.abs, and it takes the absolute value of an integer. So here, the absolute value of 24 is 24, while the absolute value of negative 67 is 67. And then here, math.pow, this is an operation where you can use exponents. So choose a number from 1 to 10. I'll type in 5. And if you had the number 5 and cubed it, then you would have 125. And here is the math.pow method in use. So there are 2 arguments for this. The first argument is the base, and then the second argument is the exponent. So basically, the program is outputting 5 to the power of 3, which is 125. And then math.square root, it takes the square root of a number. So here I just say you have a circle, choose how much area in square inches it covers. So I'll type in 50. And then the radius of your circle is approximately 3.99 blah 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 inches. And I will get back to this example later so that the decimals don't look so messed up. And then here, math.min and max, of course it prints out the minimum and maximum, but only for 2 numbers. So right here, I initialize num1 and num2, and then here it just prints out the minimum of those two numbers and the maximum of those two numbers. And then here is the number format library. This is if you want to print out your numbers or values in a more organized fashion. So here you would create an object with number format, and then here would be the name of your object, and then number format dot get, and then in this case, if you want to format money, you would do get currency instance. For this one here, this actually formats numbers that are greater than 1,000, so that it returns a comma-separated integer. And then here, this would print out a decimal, and then this would format in a %. And then here, to print out, you would do system.println name of object, which is right here, and then .format, and then the name of your variable that you want to format. So I will go to REPL. And then here, here's the number format, and then I have 4 variables initialized right here. So dollars, num with decimal, and discount. And then here, it's not so easy to read, but here is the number format object that I'm going to be using for these 4 variables. And then here, I print out the format. So here, this changes 21.5 to $21.50. This returns 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0 as 1,234,567,890. And then num with decimal, it returns it as 0.66 repeating. And then discount, it returns 0.15 as 15%. And then finally, I'll be going over decimal format, which is very similar to number format. So here, basically, you would, for real values that have a lot of decimal places, you would use this to reduce the number of decimal places. So here, you would create a decimal format object with the name of your object going here, new decimal format, and then here you would put in a set of characters. So here are the special characters, 0, hashtag, dot, and a comma. So here, this is just saying that I want to return a comma-separated integer with 2 decimal places remaining. So I will go back to REPL to demonstrate this final library. Okay, here's the decimal format library called up here. And then this is basically the same example that I just showed in the math library. So here, I just asked the user for the circle area, and as some of you might remember, it had 3.99 and a lot of decimal places following after it. So I'll type in 50 again, and now it looks much cleaner with 3.99 inches instead of 3.99 repeating, like this. So I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint, and that's all the libraries I have to show you. So thank you for watching, and I hope this helps you. Bye.